Hi folks, this is Vicki at patternprincess.com. Today I wanted to show you how to do the 5-row repeat that is part of this bobble stitch Alpine blanket here. And I have done, the colors I used were royal blue. This is a light gray that has sparkles in it, and a white, and then a soft, a light blue. The three, this color, and this color. There's the dark royal blue, light blue, and the white. They're all Caron Simply Soft. I don't recall at the moment what this light gray color is that has the sparkles in it. I will have all of the details of this pattern detailed for you on the website for free. You're welcome to go look at it and get the full written pattern. So rows 1 through 5 is just really doing your chain stitch and setting up your first row and starting your alpine stitch. And then we start off with the bobbles. And as you can see, I do a bobble stitch. When I change color, I do a bobble stitch row. And then I actually am pulling the color that I just worked with, doing one more row and doing the alpine stitch. And I want to make sure I showed you kind of how to work around these bobbles. And it can be a little bit tricky. I lose count sometimes, so I had to make sure that every single time I had a count. There are eight stitches in between. And please make sure this is one you want to make sure you count, because your bobbles will be misaligned if you don't. This worked really nice once I got rolling though. Just love this. And actually I'm going to show you on the actual blanket. As you can see, I have my yarn ends to weave in here, so I'm going to have some work to do. I do not have the border figured out yet. I kind of have an idea what I'm going to do, but I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do. So I've done my white row of my single crochet with my bobble stitch on the 8th stitch, and then I did my alpine stitch is the next, my gray. Then I did a single crochet white, alpine stitch white, single crochet white, and an alpine stitch white. So my next row to do now is going to be a light blue. So if I follow my pattern here, I have the white, then I work it into the blue, then the royal blue, the gray, and then the white repeats again. And then my next one here is the light blue. So this blue is actually the last section that I have to do on this lovely blanket. I have the whole thing done. I can just keep pulling it up here. I have the whole thing done except for this final light blue section. But I wanted to show you how this works. Let me get this going here. And what I do, I actually got to flip this. Here's the back side of it. The back side is very pretty as well. Has a nice pretty pattern to it, but it's all flat. And then this side has all the action going on, all of the texture and all of the bobble. So I'm going to show you how to work this bobble stitch row and then the next 4 rows to kind of get the hang of what I'm doing for the 5-row repeat. So I've left my yarn off here. I've left a nice long tail so I can weave it in later. And then we're going to start with our single crochet and work right, and I'm using a size H hook. This is actually a Furls Odyssey. I just started using this hook for this pattern. I had bought this hook about 6 months ago. I used to hold my crochet hooks a little bit differently. I'd hold it more with my finger like this. It took a little bit of practice, but I kind of like being able to just hold it in my full hand and turn it. It kind of helps for my arthritis a little bit better. So I'm gonna, I've made this whole thing with this, and I kind of starting to like it. So I'm gonna join my yarn, and then I like to pull this snug, and then I actually make one more little, like your first chain stitch, but I pull that snug as well. So as I'm working my blanket here, it doesn't come loose. So for my single crochets, when I start off, I do a chain 1, which does not count as anything. And then I'm going to single crochet right in that first loop. The reason I like to chain 1 is when I come back later then, for the next row, you're not, well, number 1, you're not forgetting that there's a stitch there, because I've done that, but it's a nice little spot to put your hook in. And it keeps it nicely even edge. So that's your first stitch. So that's number 1. Then we'll go right here, another single crochet, and here we go, 2, another single crochet, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7. And so what I do, because I have the bobble stitches 8, everything I've been counting is 8. I get to 8 and I start over. So you can see I'm going to align right on top of that other bobble stitch. So my bobble stitches I've been doing is 6 double crochet together. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the 8th stitch, yarn over, pull the yarn through, yarn over, come through 2 loops. Whoop. If I can get all of the spots, there we go, 2 loops. And I'm going to do this 5 more times. Yarn over, go into the same hole, pull through, yarn over, same hole, pull through 2 loops. There's 3, 4. I gotta get some more yarn. I'm almost at the end of a skein. So, but I should make it. There's 5, 6. So you can count. There's your initial loop from the stitch before. Then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're gonna yarn over, and I kind of like to pull up just a smidge. Okay, I'm just having a little bit of tension. I'm holding this with my thumb and my second finger. So, and I pull through, and this helps it go through really nice. Then your next stitch is your first stitch of your next counting off of 8, but that helps create that bobble. See how that pops out? So there's your bobble stitch. So I'm going to do this again. So all the way across, so my very first row, it's just your single crochet, and every 8th you do your bobble stitch. So there was 1. You do your first single crochet. And then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then here we go with the 8th. Yarn over, go in the 8th hole. We're going to do a bobble. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I get my yarn and I pull it through, and then we go single crochet and we start counting off. So it's a repeat, but let me show you how this looks. So if you're going to count, can you see where my stitches are a little bit bigger right here for the bobbles? So you can kind of tell that that's where that is. But then this here is stitch number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 is your bobble. So I continue to do that all the way across, and then I make sure I end with, after I do my bobble, right, that'll be above here, I make sure I end on number 8, because this would have been my next bobble. But of course it's not, because it's the end of the row. So I'm going to continue to do this whole row. When I come back, I'm going to switch to the white, because remember, I do a bobble row of the new color I'm going to bring in, and then I finish it up with a row below the color of the below. So we're going to do our finish here with our bobble, and then I'm going to do a Alpine stitch of white, and I want to show you how to work around those bobbles. And it's a little bit different depending on which row you're on, but it'll make sense once we get to that point. So I'm going to go to the end, and I'll meet you right back here. Okay, so we have our bobble stitch row done, and this is in the soft blue. Remember, every 8th is a single crochet, and then every 8th stitch is the bobble stitch. So now it's time to go back to our white yarn and do the Alpine stitch. So I have my yarn already put through here, and let's get started. And I start with a chain 2 when I'm doing the Alpine stitch, because it's just a little bit shorter than a regular double crochet, because you go down into the stitch below. So if you notice with the Alpine stitch, this stitch here is a little bit in front, this stitch here is a little bit in back, this one's in front, this one's in back, and we go down and do the Alpine stitch in the one that's in back. So some rows, such as this one, the Alpine stitch would have been right here in the first one. So because that stitch was there, this time here we're just going to do a double crochet into there. So I did my chain 2, which counts as the first stitch, right? So now we're going to go into this, so not this one, but this next stitch right here, which would be on top of that Alpine stitch, and just do a double crochet. So now we have 2. We have this one here, and then the stitch that's right above here is a double crochet. This stitch is the one that's a little bit back, so that one I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to go over in here and around the post, bring my hook, yarn over, bring my hook through, and bring it up just a little bit, and then bring my hook through 2 loops, and my hook through 2 loops. So you're doing a double crochet, but you're initially going through around the bottom post. So the next one, this stitch is up, so we're going to just yarn over and then double crochet in that single crochet stitch. So right now we have 4 stitches. We have our first chain 2, then our double crochet, and our Alpine stitch double crochet, and our double crochet. So that's 4. So our next one, we have to go around the post again. So every other one, you're going around the post, and then you complete your double crochet. Yarn over, double crochet right on top of the double crochet, and then the next one, we go around again. You see that? That's back a little bit. It's every other one. So now let's count our stitches again. Okay, so now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you notice under the bobble stitch, you have, this is a regular, this was the previous row Alpine stitch, but we'll do a regular double crochet on top of this stitch. Then there's this little stitch here where the bobble is. See that? It's right underneath that bobble. We'll have to come around and grab that, and that'll be the first one of our next 8. So right here is our 8th stitch. You see that? And you can see it on the back. So if I turn this over and look this way, so we've done 7. We've done 7, pardon me. We went around this post. This right here is going to be number 8. And you might be thinking, well, why wouldn't number 8 be here? Well, because remember, when we ended the row, your 8th bobble would have been over here. So this would have been going this way, would have been number 1 stitch. So that would have been 8 that way. So then this is your 8th stitch coming from this way. Going back this way, now this is number 1 again, because this was number 8. So then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. See that? So right here, because I just did the Alpine stitch, now I do a double crochet. So yarn over, and right in that stitch, just do a double crochet. Now here's where it can get kind of confusing for some folks. So remember that stitch. This is going to be our first one right here underneath that bobble. So that has to be an Alpine stitch though. So what I do is I yarn over, and I bring my yarn to this side of the bobble, go through there, you have to go back behind the post, yarn over, bring it through, and you have to bring it up, remember, a little bit, yarn over, go through 2 loops, and yarn over through 2 loops. So that's your first stitch of your next one. But now you're going to say, oh my God, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to take this, push your little bobble through there, voila, you just went around the bobble. So the next stitch is right here, and now you do a double crochet. So that's stitch number 2. Yarn over the Alpine stitch. Here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and here's 8. And I found that I really did have to count each time, because if I didn't, I sometimes skipped and dropped stitches, and so it really, when I was about, oh gosh, I was 2 weeks into it and I had to rip things out, let's just say, because I found I lost a stitch. So doesn't that look nice? So you can see how it's starting to blend in. So I'm going to do a little bit more here for you so you can watch. Okay, so I'm going to yarn over. And sometimes, depending on, sometimes you got to yarn over and it's right here, and other times it's right here. So just because you know you're alternating your Alpine stitches, well, you'll see if you make this, you'll see how it's okay. Sometimes it's right here, and then you got to kind of pull the bobble through that way. But on this one here, I got to pull it through here. So here, whoops, there we go. We got to go around. Go through 2 loops and 2 loops. Push your little bobble through. There it is. And then stitch number 2 is a double crochet. 3, 4, oops, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to continue working this row. When I finish this row, I will show you how to do the next row. And the next row will be in the soft blue. Okay, so I have my row of Alpine stitches done in the white. Now I switch back to the soft blue. And the next row is just really to do a single crochet back the other way. So that is simple enough to do. We just take our light blue, and remember when I do the single crochet, when we do our single crochet, I chain 1, and then so here's my chain 1, and I gotta pull these all tight. And then I go right back into that same stitch, because that gives me a nice little space to go into when I come back the other way. So there's 1, and again I count 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm right above the bobble stitch, so I've done it okay. So I'm going to continue doing my single crochets, and then we'll do a Alpine stitch on the way back. Okay, I have my row of single crochet done. Now I'm going to flip it over. I'll take my yarn with me so I don't have it all messed up. And now my next row is to do with the light blue and do that in the Alpine stitch. So it's kind of there's always one row of single crochet and then one row of Alpine stitch. And one of the rows of single crochet that you do, you just add the bobble stitch in. So let me just show you how the Alpine stitch looks here in this next one. So we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, yarn over. You notice how this one is more towards the front, this one is more towards the back. Now we do the Alpine stitch on the first one. Come around that post, bring it up a little bit, go through 2 loops, and the next one is going to be a double crochet. Make sure you go right on top of the other stitch. Okay, so we have 3 stitches. Yarn over, and then the next one is the Alpine. Yarn over, go on top of this one for double crochet. Yarn over, Alpine. Yarn over, double crochet. So let's count. So we have our first chain 2, which does count as a stitch. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have one more to be 8. And this here is our 8th one. So it's kind of like worked around this bobble. Remember we worked around the bobble? So here we go. We put it in here because that's our Alpine stitch. And this is number 8. So the next one, see how it's around the bobble, is a double crochet. We do a double crochet on top. And then get your hook in here and do your Alpine. And then double crochet. and behind the next post, double crochet, Alpine, double crochet, and then we're going to finish this off right here with our Alpine. That's number 8. So right now, let's take a look at how it looks. See how those colors are blending together? And we've worked around, we've weaved the yarn around the bobble. So we should have 16 stitches now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I'm going to continue this process. Our next 2 rows would be a single crochet coming back and an Alpine stitch, just like we're doing now, going this way. And we would continue alternating. That would be the 5 rows. So your 5th row is your single crochet with the Alpine. Then you have your Alpine stitch row. Then you have your single crochet. And you just alternate your Alpine stitch with your single crochet until all of a sudden the next single crochet, you're changing color, and then you're doing your bobble stitch again, and it continues on. And you continue blending your colors all the way through. I don't know what kind of border I'm going to do on here yet. As you can see, I have some yarn I have to weave in. Once I'm done, I'm almost done. I'm going to end with a blue. I started with blue, and I'm going to end with a blue, so it's a little bit more symmetrical look. And I'll probably, I have another single crochet row and then the Alpine stitch row. I'm probably going to add one more single crochet row of the blue, just so it's, I'm going to be probably going around the whole thing with a white single crochet, and I think I'm going to do a border in white. What that's going to be yet quite, I'm not quite sure. So hopefully by the time I post this, I'll obviously have it figured out. But I hope that you take a moment. If you'd like to make this yourself, I will have the full written pattern on patternprincess.com. I have lots of other crochet patterns, a growing list, recipes and other crafts, sewing stuff, all kinds of different things on there. Please stop by and poke around a little bit. Maybe there's something that catches your eye. But thank you so much for watching. I hope that you've learned a little bit how to do a beautiful blanket like this. Please take care, stay well, and have a wonderful day. Thank you again for watching.